fine. So this video is about France and crisis in France and in crisis about Macron as president. So I wanted to analyze some points about protests and about conditions of these protests in France. So first aspect, it's global crisis of classical political forces in Europe. So as you see, Merkel go from her party, and we saw on this week last elections of to leader of her party, and it's her solution, which we analyzed in last video. So it's the first aspect of searching new leadership in Germany, and you also saw in the last elections in Austria. It's also were elections where right political forces and radical political forces take good advantages and good points, good ratings on last political season. So they also have some messages about Eurosceptic message and right-wing message. So it's also a good indicator of crisis process in European Union. And of course it's Le Pen support on last period. It's presidential elections in France, and you see that officially also Russia invests to Le Pen political force. So for now she can go to people with message not only about refugee crisis and so on and so forth, but also about budget policy of Macron and his cabinet in France. So it's 3 steps which were basic points on crisis on this day. Also, if you remember, in France and Germany, cabinets and power support feed-in tariff, green tariff to green energy. So as you understand, and in political program, political platform of President Macron, you can see that he wrote that I will support green energy in France. So if we will analyze some points, we can understand that if he supports feed-in tariff, green tariff, prices to gas and prices to diesel will go higher because it's a classical logic of green energy development and so on and so forth. But of course, the voter can't understand so deeply this situation, can understand that feed-in tariff it's increasing of all gas and diesel prices. So that's why they haven't communication with cabinet, and Macron didn't do some speech about environment and about importance of these solutions. He decided it's understandable because on some points in United Nations and some points on G20 he had speeches about global ecology and about position of France in this point. So it's one more aspect why Macron lose this little battle, because he didn't communicate with people on their language. And that's why people who understand that increasing on fuel will be very, very high, they came to center of Paris and said that we are against this budget policy, because as we understand, it's only budget policy. Macron Macron wanted to take taxes from fuel, but he also don't want to cut some social guarantees, and he can't cut, for example, refugee problem. So that's why people take all this wear and these yellow jackets and go to center of Paris. But for now, it's not only economical aspect. It's also aspect about policy making. And now people has more than 30 points, and all these points is political points. That's why I think that President of France must. For example, not go, but have some changes in his cabinet. For example, he can hire new ministers, or so on and so forth. But it's also important that the main newspapers in France said that Macron is not wonder, and he is not like Black Swan. He is a person who worked from Holland Group and who worked for Holland Group and for lobbyists, also for lobbyists in green energy sector. That's why his policy can't compare with policy, for example, of Merkel, who are in office from after Konrad Adenauer time, and who represent the most understandable European values and European policy. That's why Macron's policy with his proposal about European army and about reforms and change in European Union policy also can't be the same like Merkel policy. But on conclusion, I must say it to you that it's not the end of Macron's political leadership. So now he have 19 points of rating. It's not so bad, so it's bad situation, but till this moment he can change the situation, and it's not so critical like a movie on TV. So of course it's a critical position, and it's example of bad communication between power and voters and people of France, but still it's in some points stable, because I hope that all these protests will be peaceful and only peaceful without radicalization. And I hope that other countries like Russia, who invest to Le Pen's campaign official, you can approve this information in official fonts of her party, can change this situation in France, in Belgium, and in other European stable countries. So you must understand all these points and move forward and understand lessons which we must learn on Macron's policy, on policy of his cabinet in economy vector and in economy solutions, and also to build new global European policy, because as you can see in Brzezinski works and Friedman works, they said that Poland also will be new leader of European Union, and it will be very interesting geopolitical changes, as you can see in new negotiations between Poland and United States, and as you saw first visit of Trump to Poland, so that's why it's also interesting process of global leadership in European Union, and as we remember on May next year. It will be global elections to European Parliament, and election campaign preparation to election campaign already starts. That's why we will see what changes can be in European Union policy and in European Union budget process to the next years. Thank you, and see you on our YouTube channel.